Severe thunderstorms forecast to lash Brisbane, the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast today before intense heat takes over across much of Australia. So for the run up to New Year's, we're looking at a very bumpy picture weather-wise. We have a lot to get through in this video. Make sure you stick around to the end and subscribe if you haven't, and leave some feedback in the comment section down below. But this your December 30th forecast update from Force 13 Australia. You can already see some significant thunderstorms firing around Brisbane. They're under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, with more action forecast to blow through the metropolitan area before this evening. We're also looking out for some intense heat across parts of Australia's red centre and Australia's west, and a very, very stormy start to 2024. You'll see what I mean when we go onto the forecast models into a lot further depth later on in the video. But taking a look at the national picture right now, we have a very hot forecast up in our north. Extremely hot conditions expected today across West Australia's mining communities, with a 50-degree maximum for Marble Bar. Storms will be in the Goldfields and also in the Kimberley and up into the top end of the Northern Territory. And we're also looking out for a widespread severe thunderstorms extending north of Newcastle and Grafton, right up to Mackay and Cairns. These thunderstorms will be pulse thunderstorms along the edge of that warning zone, but we'll be looking at widespread severe supercell thunderstorm activity around Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast especially, with the possibility of large hailstones, destructive winds, heavy rainfall, and maybe even a couple of tornadoes here and there. So Access G3 temperature forecast, we are looking out for a very hot day, as I've said, in northern Western Australia, around Marble Bar, 50 degrees Celsius. That heat will then dissipate a little bit as we get to the last day of 2023, still a hot day up there, and it will start to spread more into sort of Alice Springs and the central Australian region before we look out for some very high temperatures for the first day of 2024. Taking a look at this, we're looking out for some of our inland communities to get up towards 45 degrees Celsius. However, thankfully, it looks like the coastal cities will remain cool for New Year's Day. We'll be seeing temperatures of around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Very pleasant indeed. But going further into the forecast run, keeping track of time down below, you can see around sort of Western Queensland and southeastern and Northern Territory, you're looking out for some very, very high temperatures indeed. I think Birdsville's expecting a day of 48 degrees into the first week of 2024, and this hot weather will then extend down towards southern Western Australia, and we could also be seeing some very hot days across South Australia and into Victoria as well. In fact, Melbourne could be in for a scorcher towards the end of the first week of 2024, with 35 degrees rather on the cards. So taking a look at the Access G3 rainfall forecast nationwide for the next 10 days, you can see on the run up to New Year's Eve, we're looking out for a stormy start for Queensland today, and and that will extend into this afternoon for New South Wales. And then for New Year's Eve, we're looking out for widespread severe thunderstorms in northern New South Wales and Queensland, and also in the northern parts of Western Australia and the Northern Territory. But it looks like the other capital cities will remain dry before this low pressure system thing materializes across South Australia and New South Wales. And just look at the consistent thunderstorm activity that it fires across New South Wales and Queensland for the first week of 2024. So many storms, so frequently every night of the week by the looks of it, and some of these could be very strong indeed. So we're going to have to watch this forecast closely, because that is a lot of thunderstorm activity and a lot of rainfall on the forecast. In fact, that is quite the forecast, that's for sure, for the Access G3 model to be making. So we'll watch that very closely, and if you want more coverage on that, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. We'll zoom right in now and take a look at southeast Queensland, because that is where the bulk of the action is. Today we're looking out for strong thunderstorms in those reds and blacks north of Brisbane around Gympie and up to Bundaberg. And we could also be seeing some strong thunderstorms tomorrow and into New Year's Day. Widespread as well, very widespread thunderstorms. It looks like New Year's Day we're going to escape the worst of the thunderstorms. It'll just be those pulse thunderstorms that fire across the Great Dividing Range, but still some of those could be strong and some of those could bring heavy rainfall. So here's a look at those storms that are already firing now. You can see a lot of lightning around the Brisbane and Gold Coast area, very tall thunderclouds towards the east over the coast, so it looks like they're in for a very rough afternoon. But let's go and take a look at an in-depth forecast nationwide in the next 10 minutes over on the models at windy.com. Screw the forecast models, we're looking at the current picture right now. There are so many thunderstorms that have fired in about the half an hour that it's taken me to make the first part of the video, and now I'm recording this part. We've really got a situation unfolding across Brisbane right now. There is a lot of lightning activity, a lot of very heavy rainfall. This thunderstorm here around Ipswich is severe warned, and that is producing heavy rainfall and damaging winds. This thunderstorm here is also potentially going to be severe warned as it moves away from the Brisbane area. There's very heavy rainfall in that, and I believe this thunderstorm, which is passing through Dalby at the time of recording, is also severe warned, and this looks like it could materialize into a supercell thunderstorm. Just looking at the structure of this thunderstorm right now, we could be seeing something really organized from here, but what we're looking at right now is organized supercell thunderstorm activity moving through towards Toowoomba and Gatton and south of Ipswich. This will move into the Gold Coast sort of area and pass over Tweed Heads in about half an hour to an hour or so. This is organized thunderstorm activity, bringing the risk of damaging, locally destructive winds, heavy and locally intense rainfall, and also the possibility of large and maybe even giant hailstones. Is there a risk of tornadoes with these systems? Possibly, especially as they move off the mountainous terrain and get themselves in a very favorable lifting environment. We could be seeing some tornadoes pop out of these thunderstorms, which is concerning to say the least. But we're going to watch these thunderstorms very closely, and there may be live coverage on the Force 13 Australia channel if necessary. So taking a look at the rest of Australia, a couple of showers down in Melbourne and Hobart. We'll also be seeing some rain showers south of Perth. Finally, some rainfall down there. It's been a while, it has. And also a couple of showers up in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. But now it is time to take a look at the forecast models, starting it off with temperature for the next 10 days. We're going to take a look at what's interesting, and what I can tell you right now is today is going to be very interesting up in WA's north, with daytime maxima approaching 50 degrees Celsius north of Marble Bar and Telfer. Very, very hot conditions indeed. And this hot weather will ease off slightly, I believe, as we get into the first couple of days of 2024. But then as we start to get into Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to see this low pressure system start to develop across New South Wales. And that's also what's going to drive a lot of this thunderstorm activity that I've been talking about and really hammering home across Queensland and New South Wales. And this low pressure system here is going to drive temperatures through the roof. Let me tell you, I believe we're going to be seeing days of up to 47, I believe, degrees Celsius for Birdsville and other parts of inland Queensland. We could be seeing some very hot temperatures materialize out of that. And as we get into Saturday and Sunday, it looks like the west coast of Western Australia also really heats up. A lot of locations will have daytime maxima above 38 degrees Celsius, and some will definitely pick up daytime maxima approaching 42 degrees Celsius. And it's going to be a bit of a wonder if Perth gets their first run of really, really hot weather for summer from this setup. It's looking quite likely actually into sort of the first week of 2024, so we'll be watching that forecast closely as well. But I know a lot of you guys are here for the thunderstorm coverage, and let me tell you, it is not going to let up. It is relentless stuff for the next 10 days, with intense thunderstorms expected to develop, I believe, from about Tuesday from this low pressure setup that we're going to see. Just look at how widespread the thunderstorm activity is, extending all along the Queensland coastline and down towards New South Wales and Victoria. And as we play this forecast run through, you can see even though these are pulsed thunderstorms, they're just very widespread and there's a lot of them. So we're looking at the widespread risk of heavy rainfall for lots of locations over the next 10 days, just because of how widespread these thunderstorms are going to be. We're not looking out for torrential downpours, like historic record-breaking downpours in one certain area. We're just looking out for a lot of days of moderate to heavy rainfall, which could total up to 250 millimeters in places that only receive 250 to 500 millimeters per year. So there is definitely the risk of minor to moderate flooding in central Queensland and northern New South Wales, and even across southern New South Wales as well. We're seeing these squall lines move through sort of Canberra and Sydney every other night. So we're watching that situation closely too. But I mean, yeah, just look at Thursday, that's the 4th of January, and then into Friday, the 5th of January. So many storms nationwide. The only place that is really missing out is Western Australia and South Australia, but everywhere else just seems to be receiving some significant volume of thunderstorm activity. So we could be seeing a lot of rainfall, like I said, from these thunderstorms. And as we get closer towards the end of the first week of 2024, we're just looking out for so much storm activity nationwide. None of these storms scream severe or very intense. They could definitely be the odd severe thunderstorm, but we're just looking out for such widespread pulsed thunderstorm activity that we could be seeing some very heavy rainfall totals. And I'll just dive into that real quickly right now. So many locations expecting up to 25 millimeters of rain in the next 10 days. And there's even some that are predicting up to 200 millimeters of rain, especially around coastal Queensland, north of Brisbane up to 250 millimeters of rain. I believe if you go to the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast, you're looking out for even more rainfall. So in some places, 300 millimeters is plausible from the forecast, which is a lot of rain rainfall, and central New South Wales as well is in for a drenching up to 100 millimetres of rain in the next 10 days. And same with the Northern Territory. They don't escape it. Parts of South Australia, they don't escape it. Just so much rainfall is expected, which is very seasonal for this time of the year, might I add. It's nothing crazy or stupid or so far out of the ordinary that there's definitely the risk of minor to moderate flooding in river catchments in central Queensland and northern New South Wales. So if you are there, make sure you're preparing or adequately preparing for a possible flooding situation, and make sure you're staying up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology's watches and warnings. There's also this flood watch between Rockhampton down to the New South Wales-Queensland border. All the rivers there under a minor flood watch at this time because of the thunderstorms this afternoon. And let me tell you, some of those look mighty brutal and mighty feisty, that's for sure. As we start to get into about 2 to 3 p.m. local time, we're just looking out for some very, very heavy rainfall totals up to 100 millimetres an hour. I'd predict in some places, 60 to 80 millimetres of rainfall in some places. It looks like they're going to move just north of Brisbane to be a real problem to the Brisbane metro. But definitely in rush hour, we could be seeing some very heavy rainfall totals on the Sunshine Coast, moving up towards Gympie and Hervey Bay, and maybe even in towards Bundaberg as well. But this one looks like a very organised squall line from this forecast model, so we're not looking out for the risk of supercell activity or tornadoes up there. We're looking out for damaging, locally destructive winds and possibly small hailstones, but definitely some very heavy rainfall indeed. And what I'm also seeing is sort of the back end of these thunderstorms developing around Lismore. Very, very heavy rainfall in these. These are the supercell thunderstorms that I've been talking about, and this will happen probably at around 8 to 10 p.m. at night around Lismore, Byron Bay and up towards the Gold Coast as well. So we'll be watching this situation very closely as well, and like I said, there will be live coverage if necessary. But right now, just so much thunderstorm activity. All of this area under a severe thunderstorm warning, might I add, at this time. But just looking at how much storm activity is behind the initial fronts and lines, we're looking out for a very long afternoon. Wow, look at that, of thunderstorm activity. And I'd highly recommend checking out windy.com and staying up to date with the forecast and the radar imagery on windy.com, because it's very beautiful stuff and it's a great, very interactive website, and I use it for all of these videos. So make sure you do check them out and give them a bit of love as well. But yeah, that's basically more or less it for the forecast at this time. We'll take one last look at temperatures for the major capital cities. Very hot conditions across Perth today, 37 degrees Celsius. Melbourne going up to a very cool, what's that, about 20 degrees Celsius today, 17 degrees Celsius. Hobart also staying cool at 14 degrees Celsius. Sydney a mild top of 22. Brisbane a warm top of 26 and humid. Darwin up to 35 degrees Celsius. And then in inland communities it's just going to be hot and more hot. Very normal conditions for this time of the year, but also very warm conditions. And just to wrap it off, I'd like to go right out to the very end of the forecast to take a look at something over here in the Solomon Sea. This is a low pressure area that's possibly, I've been talking about this for quite a while now, it could spin up into a weak tropical cyclone in the Coral Sea. But again, looking very long range, not too likely at this time, but we will keep an eye on this just in case it does spin up into something. But once again, this is more than 10 days out, so there is no need to worry or panic about this system. And if it does form, I reckon steering currents are going to push it across to New Caledonia or New Zealand, or at worst Norfolk Island. I really don't see this cyclone beelining it for anywhere between Townsville and Brisbane. That is not a likely scenario at all. But yeah, that is basically it for this severe weather update brought to you by Force 13 Australia. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any feedback, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. I will respond to some of the feedback that I've been cropping Melbourne and Hobart out of the forecast model maps. It is very hard to crop these videos properly and have it in the 16:9 aspect ratio, so I'm trying my best on that, and I generally just cover what's important in this in these videos. I don't cover everything, otherwise these videos could go for more than an hour at times, so just keep that in mind. But I'm trying my best to include those locations in more videos. So if you are from Melbourne and Hobart, expect more coverage of your weather on the Force 13 Australia channel, and I do apologize for neglecting you guys. But thank you so much for watching the video to this part. Leave a like on it and make sure to subscribe, because we're closing in on 8,000 subscribers. That's all from me. I'll catch you all in the next storm. Bye bye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, or you could become an Ultimate Fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.